Dystopia warning, obviously. Welcome back to hell. Now, I've been trying to collate the information that I've gathered over the last couple of days regarding the COVID inquiry, but the sheer weight of it is enormous. And I'm not just talking about the emails, the WhatsApps, the verbal testimony, having to sift through all of this different information, but also the emotional toll and the emotional weight that it takes, because there's not a single person that wasn't affected in one way or another by COVID, whether it was loneliness, whether it was losing their livelihoods, whether it was grief, whether it was watching funerals on Zoom. It's incredibly difficult, and I want to try and summarise it in a way that is sensitive to that, more sensitive than the absolute shithouses that call themselves a government have been. What I'm finding from watching the COVID inquiry is that so far, most of my worst fears were confirmed. We had to deal with Dominic Cummings resurfacing, the author of the Specsaver's Guide to the Road, a man that I unaffectionately refer to as Cumface. Now, I quite suspect that he's loved his moment in the spotlight, all these sweary WhatsApps and emails resurfacing, whilst they show a degree of creative swearing, when accompanied by his testimony also show a sincere lack of self-awareness. He's presenting himself as some kind of outsider that was just observing it, rather than the person that helped to put Boris Johnson into number 10, one of the people that thoroughly backed the Brexit campaign, which Johnson piggybacked on. You see, he was a part of the elaborate con that is Boris Johnson, and he can sit there and he can call ministers all the names under the sun, but he can't deny that he played a significant role in getting those people into those positions by dint of his support of Johnson and Brexit. He's not someone that just stood back and observed passively. Johnson got rid of all of his moderates to inflict the biggest act of self-harm that's ever been inflicted on a country, Brexit. He is as responsible as many other senior people in government at that time. You can't sit back and go, oh, you're laying into me because I was swearing in my testimony. No, we're laying into you, you tit, because you were involved in it. Your hands are not clean. And then they all bring up the excuse, don't they? Oh, well, the reason that we got Boris Johnson in, the reason we made that political choice was because the only alternative to it was Jeremy Corbyn, who they refer to as a national security risk. Back up. I don't think they're the kind of people that can throw around the words national security risk when they helped get Johnson into number 10, a man that's up to his balls in Russian donations, bribes, whatever you want to call them, a guy who had Lyubov Shchurkin in one-to-one meetings with him and other cabinet ministers, a woman that was the wife of one of Putin's employees, a man that suppressed the Russia report, a man who, when in a senior government position, got rid of his security detail to party with the son of and an ex-KGB agent. There's no such thing as an ex-KGB agent. No. There's a lot of rumours swirling around and super injunctions regarding that violinist, isn't there? He's got more super injunctions than prescriptions for chlamydia, and that's saying something. Don't talk to me about fucking national security risks. I'm probably one of the most compromised politicians in British history, immersed in scandal, immersed in corruption, was in charge of our government at a time of the worst crisis ever imaginable. You can say Jaws mode wank as much as you want, mate, but you're the one who has shit their pants and is wondering why he's covered in shit. And what this COVID inquiry is rapidly revealing, which I'm going to try and break down in some kind of tangible way, is that there was no plan, which we knew, because there were pandemic preparedness exercises, Exercise Alice, Exercise Cygnus, Exercise Cygnet, which in their own ways proved that the Britain was completely unprepared for a pandemic. Cygnus in particular happened in 2016. The report was suppressed. The Conservative government in 2016, no longer a coalition, was focused on ideological austerity and making us pay back for the fuck-ups of bankers. Rishi Sunak is said to have benefited handsomely from economic crisis, like so many of them do, because this is how it works. Boris Johnson is being revealed in this inquiry to have had a weird obsession with killing old people, aka Conservative voters. It's also revealing that we were forced into a herd immunity experiment against our will. An experiment that catastrophically backfired and ended up killing over 230,000 people. People that were in no way equipped for the positions that they were given by Johnson were marred in corruption, greed, incompetence and wanton negligence. I know it's hard for a lot of people to swallow, but vast swathes of our population are dead because of our government's conscious decisions. A conscious decision to let older people die as if they are disposable entities. An absolute lack of regard for humanity, an absolute lack of planning when it came to vulnerable people, people that are suffering domestic violence, when it came to things like the lockdowns, which were absolutely necessary but implemented way too late because people like Johnson had this criminally idiotic false sense of optimism that tends to inevitably accompany private school toff fucking idiots who have never had to face any form of real life crisis because there's always been someone there to bail them out. Now they're the people that this inquiry is going to absolve when there should be criminal charges for corporate manslaughter, gross negligent manslaughter, the kind of thing that you or I would face if we ended up killing people in our charge. This lot were running an entire fucking country, and beyond all comprehension, they're held to a lower standard when they're responsible for 60 plus million people. What? There's also a culture of misogyny, obviously, and sexism that's coming out as a part of this, but what do you expect when you elect a Prime Minister that is akin to a walking, talking Benny Hill sketch? The absolute lack of consequences and accountability is startling. So has been the lack of media coverage in most cases, yeah. What's even more crass is the people that are responsible for killing all of these people are now getting scooped up by reality TV shows and propaganda news channels that are foreign funded, like GB News, aka Dimly Lit Telly for thick fucks. That to me is like putting Harold Shipman on 24 Hours in A&E or giving Ted Bundy a slot on Love Island. It is batshit. So yeah, it's a lot to get through. Very little chance of trying to make any of it funny, because it's not funny, is it? We've had to live this. We've also got to live with the fact that there's people that are still willing to vote for this lot. I can get it, if people are millionaires because they don't care about anyone. But it's the working class Tories, the class traitors, that bother me the most. Have some self-respect, for Christ's sake. Anyway, wish me luck as I wade through this relentless landscape of conservative country. With intermittent daydreams of, just setting fire to things.